Hello everyone. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. Thank you so much to the returners. I appreciate you all. To anyone watching this and has not yet subscribed, please I am asking you to support me by subscribing to the channel. It is free. Thank you. We are back in Nigeria. This is horrendous because it is to do with the minors. When I see children being abused, it is really upsetting and annoys me so much. Children cannot defend themselves. Children simply follow what adults ask of them. Let's take a listen.
This used to be farmland, but now it looks like a moonscape. Workers tear up the soil looking for tin. It's just beneath the surface at this unregulated mine. We're here with the permission of the site boss. He allows us to film in this direction, but not what's behind us. What we can't show you is a stream polluted by mining waste. The miners dig with shovels and their bare hands, risking cuts and falls. Many are children who spend hours under the hot sun. Some tell us that they take drugs to get through the day. The boss keeps a close eye as the camera rolls.
We're here to get tin, which we take to the buyers, together with my boss. After we collect the money, my boss gives me my share, and I take some home to buy food and keep the rest for myself. In the morning, I come back here to work.
Behind me is a dangerous reality, and that of unregulated mining in northern Nigeria, where we have miners as young as 13 years of age who are risking their health to make some money. The kids make around 10 euros per kilo a day. It's a good wage, but it's illegal for them to be working. There's no government oversight on child labor or official data on accidents at unregulated mines. But recent deaths at mining sites around the country have brought the dangers to national attention. In Nigeria, poverty is the major factor that pushes many to take the risk of working in these mines. On the western side of the country, we visited another rural town, Bani, where the lithium business is booming. Here at the town market, lithium from nearby unregulated mines is sold openly.
So they just bring it now, so they need to sort it very well before transloading it to sack.
These young men help process, sort and prepare the stones for transportation. 50 kilos of lithium cost about 140 euros. They sell tons of it here. Big profits for those running the operation. But the government doesn't see any revenue. It is an industry that's ripe for corruption. This truck driver has a long haul ahead, but says he faces little scrutiny on the road.
Nothing happens to the lithium we're transporting. Nobody stops us apart from the police, who stop us when we see them. They ask questions and we give them something.
Environmental journalist Daria Koku investigates unregulated mining. He has faced threats for trying to expose the industry's problems. He says the government is being negligent and that mining in rural areas will have long-term consequences.
I believe that the more we talk about this thing, the more the government will also know that there is something that they are not doing. And the more government acts, then the better for the people and for the nation as a whole.
We reached out to the mining ministry on findings raised in this report, but did not get a response. Nigeria's parliament has recently vowed to eliminate unregulated sites for a safer and more profitable mining sector. But the reality on the ground.
So let's go. We are talking about child miners in Nigeria. These children risk their health for so little money. In Nigeria, unregulated mining for minerals, metal and rare earths has surged, costing the government over $10 billion annually in lost revenue. This booming sector also takes a high human toll. Many children are employed, who often work in hazardous conditions. This unhealthy condition is due to the necessity that pushes them to hard labor. The working conditions and hours are dangerously prolonged. You might ask, why are they using child labor in Nigeria? The prevalent and prime reason for child labor in Nigeria is the economic poverty that is seriously confronting the majority of Nigerians to some degree. It is the rate of poverty in Nigeria which leads or makes biological parents and guardians to allow their children to work in the streets as hawkers, prostitutes, traffickers, slave workers, farm workers, and child minors. The question is, are Nigerians created as a poor people, or does the climate render them poor? Also, why have many Nigerians not benefited from their natural resources? Has Nigeria failed to provide adequate provisions for their children or citizens at large? While most governments have put in place legislation to stop children from in mines, that commitment is still in paper. Enforcement remains a pipe dream. Beyond legislation, these governments should force companies buying minerals to make human rights due diligence a mandatory exercise at the mines. The government of Nigeria should strengthen access to education to ensure children are in school where they belong. With demand for these minerals expected to rise exponentially, leading to demand for cheaper labor, now is the time to save children. It is about time that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu put measures in place to arrest hunger, poverty, impoverishment going on in the country. Nigerians are seriously groaning under the heavy burden of the present parlous economic situation. The nation has not had it this bad. Many families can no longer feed even once in a day, let alone 3 times a day. Free falls of Nigerian currency against the dollars and other international currencies have capped the sufferings of Nigerians. Things in Nigeria need to improve as many Nigerians are finding it difficult to survive. Many Nigerian children are deployed in Europe, America, and some other African countries to work as laborers. These situations and conditions are unhealthy and severely harmful for children both physically and psychologically. The Nigerian government has failed to put an end to this pathetic and ugly condition of Nigerian child workers. Given to the widespread suffering and of poverty in Nigeria, it is almost impossible to see a quick turnaround for the better, unless the government steps in to help, and also to enforce some positive regulations, especially when it comes to child welfare. Let us take a look at some of causes of child poverty and labor in Nigeria. It is generally accepted that low wages, illiteracy, unemployment, and social life are the main causes of child labor in Nigeria and some of the countries in Africa. These causes place many children in the labor market as a necessity to raise their biological parents' income and to improve their financial status. The ineffectiveness of the government to provide their citizens' needs in order to avert child labor in the country. If the government plays its role and performs its duties as it is supposed to do, then there would not be any drastic unemployment and significant illiteracy and ignorance. However, in a country where the government is less concerned about the adult citizens in terms of reasonable payments or salary, job opportunities, price control, children will be the victims. First of all, some parents find their children as a burden. Some parents are willing to sell their children at a drop of a hat. Some parents forget that it is their duty to consciously bring up their children accordingly. The parent is accountable for the character and attitude of their children. Taking good care of the children is an investment because the child will pay it back marvelously. Unnecessary extravagant spending on ceremonies such as marriage, naming ceremonies, funeral ceremonies, and vocational ceremonies should be controlled and reduced from many parents' lives. Instead, parents should focus on their children's success in a way that they will invest in the children, not in ceremonies or anniversaries. It is the duty of the parent to make adequate provisions for their children's maintenance. If the parents lack resources and are unable to provide for their children due to their financial situation or because of any other reasons, the children will engage in child labor as an alternative to overcome the problem and as a way of survival. Child abuse is another factor in child labor because the phenomenon is common in the history of human beings. Many parents have deleted and buried their female children due to ignorance. You can find that some Nigerian Muslims prefer to educate males rather than females. This dark mentality should be totally abolished and eliminated completely. Those who are still living in ignorance should be reoriented to meet the requirements of the standard of life. Illiteracy and ignorance remarkably contribute significantly to the causes of child labor in Nigeria, due to the attitude of the parents. Some parents will prefer that the children go to work as opposed to going to school. With this level of total ignorance, children are deprived education, and so the cycle continues. Some children are unfortunately victims of divorce. Many children are abandoned and neglected as a result of being in their mother's custody after a divorce. Also, if a mother is in a scanty condition, children may end up becoming victims of child labor because the mother has not got enough money for adequate maintenance. Keep in mind, this is a country where the government is not mindful of its citizens. Child labor is cheap. It has become the culture and attitude of employers to gain huge profits at a low cost. Employers prefer to employ children in large numbers because it is cheap labor and there are no binding contracts to adhere to. Hence, the children end up working long and unhealthy conditions, an excessive number of hours. Another destroyer in Africa is polygamy. Many Nigerian men go beyond capacity in producing children. Poor or rich, it seems it's a duty to have many children regardless of family income. You can some parents having 6 children, and they hardly have any food to eat. You be the judge. The children grow up in a constant state of helplessness, and no one is ready to help them in terms of education, feeding, hospital, and accommodation, and the condition forces them into child labor in order to survive. According to Section 59 of the Nigerian Labor Act 1990, no young person under 15 years of age shall be employed to work underground, or on a machine, or in any work that will injure the child. So, how come that the law is not enforced? The government of Nigeria does not care very much of its citizens. Sad, but it is true. We hope that a caring government will be elected in the very near future. And we hope that they will be able to stop all child labor, and that all children must go to school. Assist companies that are will to take apprentice. Children should be treated wisely, kindly, and justly.